Hey everybody, welcome back to D&J's Epic Quest. Derek Thord here with...
the one and only Jarza Arlong, eating his Costco pizza.
Ooh. I did think about changing my name to Derek Goth from this chapter, but...
Yeah. You should. I mean...
it's too late in the game now. I'm just going to stick with what I got.
Dellum. What? I don't even remember what is your... Oh, yeah, Derek Thord.
Yeah.
He's, he may be gone, but he's still with us in spirit.
Yes, he is.
Okay, all right. I'm done being stupid.
We're never done being stupid.
I know. It's just a sad reality. I guess what's been up? How are we doing? I know we just talked about that, but like officially.
Officially, it's been okay. But yeah, I've just been dealing with these shitty headaches for a couple days, and hopefully I'm done with that. Other than that, not too much. I haven't really done anything these last couple days, so
just kind of chilled.
Yeah, Tuesday me and my dad worked on the basement a little bit. We've got one wall left to frame. We've got one wall completely sheetrock now, so I just need to insulate the wall we finished and then frame the other wall, and then I think that's basically the hardest part done. So
okay, all right.
Baby steps. So
baby steps.
What about you?
Not a lot. My kid's mom got rear-ended the other day, so they have experienced their first kind of car accident.
Oh, they were in the car?
Yeah, from what I understand, it was pretty slow. It was like 10 miles an hour, but still enough to, like, be a little shocked at that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
so
probably not much fun. Nobody got hurt.
Nobody got hurt. No, I had to take my youngest to the hospital just to have her checked out because she was in the back. So she got more or less hit the hardest.
Sure.
I think she was just more in shock than she was like injured, but better safe than sorry, right?
Yeah. Some taking a chance.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. But yeah, no, outside of that, it's just it's been a very busy week. Very busy.
Yeah. The week is about done now. It doesn't really feel like it's going to be Friday tomorrow just because I've been kind of out of whack here myself, but it's all right.
What do you say? Should we move on to our patrons then?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. Leading the pack, we've got Jan the Picker, Luciana Tregan, Ryan the Topological, Damien Facing the Rock, Nate Fiddle Me This, Shield Anvil Dylan, Calvin He Who Witnessed, Livia the Malazan Potato, Aaron Mott Irregular, Scott the Only, Graceless Passion, Dead Smell, Gestriant, My Own Genesis, Alex the High Mage, Tyler the Great Raven, The Joyful Union, Tony the Watch, and then Steve Bottle Cags. So thank you all again for your continued contributions to our lovely little chain of dogs here.
Yeah, that was nicely said. I don't think I've got anything to add to that. I do have a couple shout outs I wanted to do here. First, we got an email from a fellow in Colorado named Jeremy. So it was pretty cool. He was looking for our RSS feed or RRS. I don't remember what it is, but so that he could listen to us because Jeremy is blind. So hopefully check this out, Jeremy. And here's a shout out for you. If you ever get to this point, you found us just from one of the times I was on Fantasy for the Ages on that podcast, and he reached out to us. So yeah, that's kind of cool. And then the other one to the dude that I ran into at BioLife Plasma. I saw you had a copy of The Crippled God, and I struck up conversation. So yeah, if you, I didn't catch your name, but if you're ever listening to this, here's a shout out for you, just as well.
Hell yeah. BioLife twins, except he's much further along than we are.
Yeah, yeah, he was like halfway through The Crippled God. Maybe he's done now. I don't know, but that was just like Monday.
Yeah.
Actually, I ran into him twice, but Monday was the time I actually like got to talk to him.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that first time. And I'm like, dude, you should totally strike up a conversation with him. Tell him about our
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really have the time because he was getting his vitals done and stuff, and yeah,
Awkward time to have strike up a conversation.
yeah,
Yeah.
the nurse was like waiting to put the thermometer in his mouth and stuff. And I'm like, oh, sorry. So, but yeah,
Nice.
then the next time I went, I caught him. I couldn't believe it. I didn't think I'd ever see the dude again. So that was cool.
Great minds who read Malazan are alike. Ooh.
Something like that.
Yeah. Some weird twist of turn of phrase. I don't know.
Well, we got a short little epigraph here today.
Yep.
It reads, "There is no death in light." An Armin, High Priest of Osirk.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I don't think there will ever be a way to kill light. Moves too fast.
Unless you destroy the sun.
I'm sure there will always be another source of light somewhere.
True.
Yeah.
Just might be a little further away.
Oh, right. Yeah. Definitely death for us, but maybe not somebody else. So, chapter 21, first section here, House of Chains. Febyrl muttered as he hobbled along an old dusty path. There was little in the world that pleased him. The Malazans, his failing body, the blind insanity that was the rage of the Whirlwind goddess. In his mind, the world was diving into chaos, and all he and the world had been were trapped in the past. The past was not dead. It merely slept. The perfect measured resurrection of old patterns could achieve a rebirth. Not one such as Shaik, as that had been nothing more than a tossing out of the old to bring in the new. The rebirth Febyrl imagined was a lot more profound. He had once served the holy Falad and Kura in the holy city of Ugaret, which it and its surrounding cities were in the midst of a renaissance. Knowledge long lost was being rediscovered. The Mesla and their great legions destroyed everything, and Uragrat had fallen to Desem Altor. And Kura had well understood the thirst for knowledge from the Malazans, and would give them nothing. Instead, he had commanded Febyrl to shut down the schools, to confiscate all of that knowledge, the ancient relics of the First Empire. The teachers and scholars themselves that had that knowledge were all burned. The soldiers were furious when they assailed the schools to find all that knowledge had disappeared. Febyrl had done what had been commanded of him, his last gesture of loyalty, yet the act was a necessity. And Kura's denial of knowledge to the Malazans was perhaps the greatest defiance of that entire war. One for which Nkura paid with his life. When the horror of what had been done to that knowledge reached Desem Altor, he was fueled with rage. There was a pause to Febryl's beliefs, leaving him a broken man. His parents were furious when they found out about what their son had done, the destruction of knowledge and people, that they disowned him. After a night of madness, the next morning he murdered his parents and all the servants and the guards. The sorceries to which he used had left him old beyond his years. The old man hobbling out the gate that day went unnoticed. And Kura searched for him to no avail and left the man to his fate. Unforgivable was a hard word, but to Febyrl, he could never decide as to which crime it really applied to. Was it 3 betrayals or 2? Was the destruction of all that knowledge the foulest deed of all? Fouler than the amass rising to slaughter the citizens of Erin. And Kura's name had become a curse for the Mesla and the natives of the 7 cities. And the bitch knew every secret. It had not been enough to change his name. Had the appearance of an old man, but still she destroyed every barricade and plundered the pits of his soul. That was unforgivable. No person should know the depths of his soul and live. He refused to be so vulnerable to anyone, even Shaik. He thought to himself that she needed to be removed. He had no illusions about Corbolo Dam. He knew that his desires went far beyond the rebellion. They were imperial. Somewhere to the south, Malik Rel was making his way towards Aaron to turn himself in. He would be for sure sent to the Empress. He thought to himself as to what the next move would be. Would Malik convince the Empress that he and Dom had been working in her interests this whole time? Febyrl was certain of his suspicions, and that Dom wanted to return to the good graces of the Empress. Dom would be named High Fist of Seven Cities, and Malik Rel would have twisted his doings in the events post the fall. Poor Qual would be thrown under the bus for the death of Coltane. The Gistal priest would slip through somehow, and if it all went to shit, he was certain Malik would find a way to escape. Febyrl believed that Dom had agents in Unta. What was being played out there in Raraku was just a tremble on a web. Febyrl tells himself that he will defeat it in the end, even though he's going along with it at the moment. Dom has accepted Febryl's conditions, even though it was a lie, and he had accepted Dom's conditions, which, of course, was another lie. He had walked through the outskirts and now found himself on the wilder side of the oasis. He turned a bend, and in a clearing ringed in low stones waited Comist Rouleau, with 4 of Dom's guards positioned in a half circle around him. Rouleau asked Febyrl what the plan was. Febyrl explains that the path Rouleau's servants would take has not been walked by mortals since the First Empire, and it has likely grown dangerous. Rouleau snapped enough of the warnings and said that Febryl's job was to merely open the path. Febyrl tells Rouleau that his servants need more than that, as the goddess was once a spirit. Rouleau said that everyone knew that. Febyrl said that this might be the case, but what kind of spirit was she? You'd think she was the spirit of the winds. No. He tells Rouleau to look around. Raraku holds the bones of countless civilizations going all the way back to the First Empire, the Empire of Decembalakis. The signs of this are mostly destroyed, but if one looks closely and understands, he hobbled over to one of the low stones and told Rouleau that if he were to dig down far enough, he would discover that these stones were actually tall and upright. Rouleau questioned by asking if they were Talani Mass. Febyrl nodded his head yes, and explained that the First Empire of Decembalakis was not the first, that it indeed belonged to the Talani Mass. There was a throne upon which a mortal was meant to sit, the progeny race of the Talan, a human. Humans viewed empires differently, though. Their vision did not include the Amass, therefore betrayal and then war. The Amass were reluctant to annihilate their mortal children, so they left. They returned with the shattering of their warren. Rouleau nodded and added when the chaos erupted with the ritual of the soul taken in Divers. Rouleau wondered if the goddess spirit was Amass. Febyrl shrugged and said that there were texts, copies which survived until the fall of Ugarat. The few Amass the humans destroyed were buried at sacred sites like this one we're standing on. Rouleau shook his head and said that the Whirlwind was full of rage, and the Amass were not like that. Febyrl suggested that unless she had reason to, perhaps a fury from her mortal life, a wound so deep that the ritual of Talan couldn't eradicate. Febyrl shrugged and said that it didn't matter anyway, because the spirit was indeed Talani Mass. Rouleau said that it was rather late for Febyrl to be revealing all of this. He asked if the ritual of Talan still bound her. Febyrl replied that she had broken those chains long ago, a secret gift from Raraku of life and death. It returned to her all that she had lost, including her rage. Raraku, though, remained the greatest mystery of all, for it holds its own memories, memories of the sea, and memories our power. Comist Rouleau told Febyrl to open the path. Febyrl thought to himself that once he's done this for Rouleau and his Mesla friends, that they will owe him one, and then they have to bend to his every whim. 7 cities will be liberated, and the Malazan Empire will withdraw, and their civilization will flower once again. He stepped out into the ring of stones and raised his hands. So I thought this opening section was really cool, because not only do you get like a lot of history, but it like pertains around Febyrl himself, who up to this point has really kind of been a very quiet character to me. So it was kind of nice to get some of his past, some of his history, some of his world building, you know?
Yeah. It was nice to get some of his backstory.
Yeah. The first thing that I had, and I'd had quite a bit because it was kind of very whoa section, so to speak. This part where he says the past was not dead, it merely slept. The perfect measured resurrection of old patterns could achieve a rebirth. And just this whole part where he's talking about it merely slept. And it made me think of like Burn or even the Mybe. And slept and perfection make me think a god of some kind. So is this hinting at Raraku as a god? Because we know that perfection aligns with the gods.
I don't know.
It was just, again, like purely just going off of his words, which are always intentional, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything to add on that, I guess, one way or the other.
Okay. All right. Well, I got more for you, so no worries.
All right. I'll try not to disappoint you.
Yeah. This whole part where Febyrl kind of like in his mind admits that Shaik had been nothing more than a tossing out of the old to bring in the new. And I feel like this is another piece of info suggesting that Shaik was not actually reborn, being that this is coming from one of her mages. Just saying. Agree, disagree, sir?
Well, I can't agree with you
Why?
just on principle. I don't know. I still feel like maybe she wasn't reborn in the way that you like expected, but I still think it was some kind of a rebirth.
That's fair. I mean, that's your opinion, that's your interpretation, and there's nothing wrong with that. So
Thanks, man.
I don't agree at all, but it's cool. It's not a point of contention. So
Maybe we can get some clarification sometime down the road.
yeah, I'm sure it'll happen. I have a feeling there'll be more of these types of like little hints and clues, from other people's perspectives. And then this thought of rebirth, Febyrl imagined was a lot more profound because, like, he's making a comparison between rebirth of Shaik was just merely a tossing out of the old and bringing in the new type thing. And what he has in mind is a lot more elaborate, is kind of what I got. So, do you think that Febyrl plans to maybe resurrect Raraku back to life to bring the water that once inhabited the area, like kind of like what you predicted? Do you think that this is how he plans to wipe out the Malazans, similar to the flooding of the Nascent? Raraku is continent wide. The Nascent is where Raraku's water maybe went. That seems profound to me. But secondarily, do you think that the whirlwind is holding back the water and then like once it's destroyed the water returns? Because the book often depicts the whirlwind and Raraku as like adversarial or enemies, is kind of where my thought process is going with that one.
I guess what brought you to the conclusion that the Descent is where Raraku's water went?
It's a question. It's
Oh,
a hypothetical question.
gotcha. I wasn't sure if I missed something, but that definitely piqued my interest when you said that.
Is it possible that it could be? Because where did the two freed Hounds of Darkness come from?
The Descent, right?
Right. But in Lorik's flashback, where are they when he encounters the Hounds of Darkness?
I didn't really know where they were at.
It's a memory from Raraku. So it's like old school Seven Cities, like way before the Talani Mass existed.
Okay.
So like it's that old. They're that old.
I guess I don't know if that's going to be his plan. I don't think that's something that like we'll see this book. I don't think. Maybe it won't even happen at all. Like what if Febyrl gets killed? Then there, some other plan comes to be or something else happens that will bring the water back. I don't know. I just feel like it would be pretty soon for that to like happen. And I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe that's what will happen. But just to me, it feels like that would be too soon.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he's got plans for the whirlwind, and so does everybody else in Shaik's camp. But another prominent theme in this chapter is convergence, right? Like we get a lot of not only like I got the sense that like not only is it just the Malazans and Shaik and the Apocalypse Army that are converging, but other aspects as well that we'll kind of talk about throughout the episode. All right, my next point here, this whole thought about the teachers and scholars themselves were thrown into the fire with all of that knowledge, kind of, I don't know, that was just real fucked up, I guess.
I think some of them kind of like, or at least how I read it, is that they were like willingly throwing themselves on the fire just because like all their research and stuff was like being lost. Like,
Yeah.
dang, that's pretty hard.
It was heavy. That's heavy. I got that sense too, is that like they willingly did it.
Maybe not all of them, but some of them.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like Febyrl maybe had to use some coercion. Next thought after that. This part where he's talking about that sorcery that he used to kill his parents and the servants and all that. It says it had left him old beyond his years. And it just reminded me of the Mybe. That was a sorcery that I kind of get the sense that Febyrl mentally is very young. He just looks old because of this sorcery.
Sure. Yeah, I never really considered like liking it to the Mybe though. That's interesting.
Yeah. Although I don't think this is like his life is fleeting, it's just used so much of the sorcery that it like made him age.
Everything comes with a cost.
Yeah. And then there's this part where he's talking about unforgivable, right? And then he goes back to, was it 2 acts or was it 3 that are unforgivable? And the first one that I point out was the destruction of knowledge worse than the amass rising to slaughter the citizens of Erin. And I thought that was really funny. And it's an interesting word choice for me, the word amass rising. This gave me the impression that this was the first time they were used. Also, Kellenved, from what I understand, ordered the slaughter of Erin, right?
I guess I don't remember. I thought it was, I don't know. You could be right. I don't remember specifically.
Because he's in control of the amass.
I guess I just don't remember if he ordered it or if they just kind of were like, went rogue.
I think he ordered it. Yeah.
He could have.
Yeah. My question, and it's more rhetorical, it's more of a like an entertaining, like, oh, well, how is this betrayal, right? Well, it's because from what I've gathered is that the amass were native to 7 cities. And of course, the betrayal of burning all that knowledge is the unforgivable part. And that's why it is both a curse for Malazans and for the residents of 7 cities. Is Kellenved essentially used the amass to slaughter their progeny.
It's pretty dark.
Yes. And then the third thing was that Shaik knows everything about him, and that is what is unforgivable to him, is that she can see into the deepest pits of his soul, as he said, and he does not like that.
I suppose not when you want to keep secrets.
No, not at all. And then later on, we get this where they're talking about Malacrel and Dom and their kind of plans. He says that what was being played out here in Raraku was just a tremble on a web. So another spider reference, and kind of get the insinuation that Dom being out in Raraku is just a small piece of the puzzle. And so do you think Corbola Dom is here on behalf of the Empress? Was this all set up? Maybe. I mean, I kind of get the vibe that he's not as competent as he should be. So maybe he's just dumb enough to fall for something like this. It kind of seems like he's there for, well, at least Febyrl is surmising that he's there to get back in the good graces of the Empress. So is it possible that the Empress is maybe taking advantage of that? Like, she's in on it. Do you think she would sacrifice Coltane or something like this?
I don't think she would. I think he's too good of a leader.
Yeah.
I mean, unless she's worried about him trying to take her place or something. But I don't know. To me, it doesn't make sense that she'd have Corvola Dom in this position where he's, she set this up to like kill her own troops,
Yeah.
To me, that seems like a stretch.
Okay. Fair enough. It was just interesting. I mean, obviously, this is all Febryl's perspective, but I could see it. I could give it thought. I could see it happening. So, a couple more here. And this one kind of, again, goes back to when they're talking about the soul taken in Ivers and what shattered the Warren. Basically, it's this whole conversation about how the Amass, the progeny of the Amass, are humans, right? And then the humans didn't like the whole empire that the Amass had, so they rebelled, right? And while they took a few Amass out, for the most part, the Amass just kind of left him alone because they felt bad for him, right? So whenever this soul taken and Diver ritual came about, we know that like the Amass intervened. And so I'm wondering, and I'm thinking that if I'm following this correct, the Amass are the ancestors of humans, and they once coexisted. I'm going to guess that the Amass were immortal and had already partaken in the ritual of Talan. So therefore, they were forced to return when their children did their own ritual of the soul taken Divers. Thus, this is the reason why their Warren was shattered. So this would likely cause a human aspect in Warren. What that may be.
A lot of good thoughts.
Yeah.
I like how you string this stuff together because I don't.
Oh, sorry.
Don't be sorry, dude.
Okay. And then here we go. I was so fucking close. I was so goddamn close. When I suggested that the Book of Drajana was written by an Amass and used by the Whirlwind, I was like this far away. I was like so close to guessing who the Whirlwind was. But as Febyrl and Kamistrelo the Whirlwind is Talani Mass. So a Talani Mass outside of the Talan ritual.
Who do you think it is?
I don't know. Obviously a female Amass who's very pissed off. I don't know. But they do mention in this section, and I didn't highlight it, but the few Talani Mass that the humans were able to wipe out were buried in sacred sites, like the one that they're standing on now. And so I'm wondering if the seven faces in the rock were the ones killed by the humans, because that would be a failure.
That would be interesting. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out.
Yeah. And then lastly, I just pointed out that this whole Raraku remained the greatest mystery of all, for it holds its own memories. And then I just made a comment like we'll see in a little bit, because I thought that was really cool. I really enjoyed that section. While it felt more linear, there was some like really cool imagery. So more to come on that.
Sounds good, man.
All right. Well, that was all I had for that first section. It only took us an hour and a half to get through it, but yeah, we're good.
Some technical difficulties.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, sir. I'm ready to move on if you are.
Yeah. Something bestial and with power was coming. Each moment it came closer, and Loric's fear increased. He thought to himself that it felt like an ancient war, a hatred that defied millennia. He sensed none of the people in this oasis were the object of that hatred. However, they were still in the way. He knew he needed to learn more, but he didn't know what path to take. 7 Cities was a land heavy with burdens, thick-skinned and weather-hardened. Those secrets did not come forth easily, especially in Raraku. Loric sat on the floor with his thoughts racing through his head. The whirlwind's rage had never been so strong. He figured the Malazan army must be close, but it was more than that. It was a convergence, pulling in other powers as well, all behind the whispers of a song. He thought he should run and take Fellison with him, maybe Heberick too. He should do this soon. But curiosity got the better of him, for now anyways. Truths would be revealed. He would soon know them. He thought to himself that he came to Raraku because he sensed his father was somewhere close. Maybe he wasn't here any longer, but he was not long ago. The chance of picking up his trail? The Queen of Dreams said his father, Osric, was lost. What did that even mean? He wanted the answer to this question. Kral Thirlin had been born in violence, a shattering of darkness, and it had since branched off in many other directions, falling into the grasp of the mortal humans, which they knew as Tyr, before that as Telon. Telon was powerful in the Seven Cities, even though it may be buried deep, where Kral Thirlin was twisted by the shattering of its sister Warren. There was no easy way in that, Lorik knew, so he thought he would try Telan. He stood up, knowing there would be risks, and walked to the chest next to his cot, removed the magical wards, and opened it. He donned his Leosin armor and his light, narrow-bladed longsword. Once dressed, he paused, thinking he did not like to fight. He despised it. Unlike his kin, he did not like harsh judgment. He did not believe order could be achieved by a sword blade. However, he did think finality could be gained, but it would be stained with failure. Necessity was not a good flavor, but it was one he would need to accept. Once again, he would need to sneak through the camp, using his powers to remain undetected by mortals, but not enough to be seen by the goddess. How ferocious her anger was. This was his biggest ally, and he would need to trust that as he set forth.
Nice little shorty here.
Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of struggling reading, but
It's all good.
I like this line, just all behind the whispers of a song. I just thought that was a cool line.
What do you think that means?
I don't know. I assume something with the Tano song, but
Yeah, you're right. And this is where I was kind of talking about earlier with the converging of other things outside of just the Apocalypse Army and Malazans. But we just learned that the Whirlwind is a mass, right? But we also know that the First Empire and the Tano, which we associate with the Nameless Ones, right? Remember back in the chapter with the Beardy's fortress or whatever, it was used as an ancient something for the Nameless Ones, and then it became a Tano.
is this where they found the demon in the well?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Balakis, right, is of the human race. And from what I understand, is the human race and the Nameless Ones were at war with each other. Because you remember when Kalam kind of walks out of that basin and he gets like a flashback of soldiers walking. I think it was a previous chapter. And he has that flashback of them talking about like, oh, we just won a battle against Balakis.
Yeah.
Et cetera, and they were essentially warriors for the Tano or for the Nameless Ones. Do you think that maybe the Tano song is here to take out something that would hurt the First Empire because they're at war by taking out the Whirlwind? It just kind of seems like you have Azath. Like I associate the Nameless Ones to Azath and the Tano and the song to the Azath. And even Fiddler, who is now supposed to help Kalam, right? Because of the song that they keep hearing. He, in the Scorpion fight, prayed to the House of the Azath. He prayed to the Dead House, remember? And we were like, I didn't know we could do that.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of funny how you get like these sides almost. And so I think that on top of, and you know, he even says ancient wars, right? Like the First Empire and the Amass, the First Empire and the Azath or the Nameless Ones or Tano or whatever you want to call it, right? So there's all these things kind of converging, right? So I think that there's more than one thing happening here. Like all of the stories that we've read in this book and, you know, set up in Deadhouse Gates and Memories of Ice are all kind of coming to a head, I think.
It definitely seems that way.
But yeah, that was my only addition to yes, it is a really cool line.
It was a good addition. It was a lot better than me just saying, I think this is a cool line.
Hey, I do it too.
Let's see. I think I had one more here. Just where it says Teleon was powerful in the seven cities. I guess that makes sense, right? Since that's the Teleon's homeland from what we think, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that headcanon.
All right. I mean, that's what made sense to me. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have any other thoughts here. I'm sure I could come up with some on the fly, but anything you wanted to talk about?
No, not that I wanted to add. Not at all.
The only other thing I could think to add right now is just, when he's thinking about the Queen of Dreams saying his father was lost, like, what did that even mean? It's kind of interesting.
It is interesting. What does that mean?
I don't know. I don't
know. I mean, we can understand what lost is, but, the clues surrounding that, who knows, right?
Right.
I guess, yeah, I'm good to go if you're good to go.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Got all the long ones at the beginning here. The sun was a glare behind the swirling storm of sand that was the whirlwind. With an hour left before it set, Lorik reached Toblakai's camp. Felsen Younger was sleeping, so he did not wake her up. He glanced at the two Toblakai figures before making his way to the statues of the 70 Mass. The spirits were long gone, these mysterious Mass that were Toblakai's gods. The sanctification of this place was forced away from the seven, and now belonged to something else. A fissure remained of Talan, perhaps from a brief visitation. He hoped it was sufficient to breach his way into Talan. He unveiled his power and forced his way into the fissure, widening it until he was able to step through. He stepped onto mud at the edge of a lake. Flies from the shoreline swarmed around him. He thought to himself that he was in the wrong place and at the wrong time. He figured that this was Raraku's ancient memory. He faced inland and observed the terrain. A flash of movement nearby caught his attention, and he put his hands on a sword. A hyena like the ones to the west of Aaron. This one was as large as a bear. It lifted its head to sniff the air and then took a step forward. Lorik slid his sword from the scabbard. The hyena, hearing the sliding blade, bolted into the reeds. He sheathed his weapon and followed the trail the hyena had left through the reeds. Not 4 paces in, he came upon a gnawed remains of a body far along in its decay. It took a while for Lorik to figure out what he was looking at. He found the severed head and kneeled down and studied the features of the skull. He appeared to be an ape-like man, human, but with dark brown hair covering the body and head. He wondered what manner of man this was. Lorik stood up and followed the trail left by the hyena. He finally reached dry land and found no evidence of the animal. He had no destination in mind and wasn't even sure if what he sought could be found. What he had entered was indeed not Talan. If anything, he had come to what lay beneath Talan, as if the Amass, in choosing their sacred sites, had been responding to an older power. He understood that Toblakai's Gade was not recently sanctified by the giant warrior, or even by the Talani mass gods he had worshipped. It had belonged to Raraku, to whatever power the land possessed. So he had pushed through to the place of beginnings. He wondered if he pushed or if he was pulled. The ground started to rumble, and to his right, a stampede of large beasts crested a hill. Lorik hesitated as they weren't heading his direction, but he knew that the stampede could change directions at any time. They were close enough for him to see that they were similar to wild cattle. He wondered what had caused them to panic, and looked to where they had come from. Lorik crouched to the ground, his heart hammering in his chest. 7 hounds, large and black as midnight. Flanking the hounds were a score or more of the half-human creatures, such as the body he had discovered by the lakeshore. He thought to himself that there had been a mutual benefit, as those hounds appeared as if they didn't belong there. He thought to himself that the hounds were intruders, strangers in this realm to which nothing could challenge them, and they knew it. Now he saw that the other observers were tracking the hounds. 3 Kachain Chamal Kel hunters were strafing parallel to the hounds at a distance. He thought to himself that the Kachain Chamal were not of this world either. He remembered his father had spent time with Rake and Moonspawn, delving into mysteries. The Kachin Chamal lived on distant continents, and perhaps they had just arrived on this one, looking for new sites for their colonies. If the hounds saw Lorik, they made no sign of it. Neither did the half-human species. The High Mage continued to watch them until he dipped into a basin and out of sight. The cow hunters fanned out slowly, closed in on where the hounds had vanished over the crest of the basin. Lorik, at this point, knew that it was a deadly mistake. A blur of darkness, and the hounds took out two of the Kel hunters, while the third bolted. The hounds did not pursue. Lorik now understood why the Kachin Chamal never established colonies on this continent. He watched the hounds and the half-humans mill around for a while, and then started to make his way back to the lake. He looked over his shoulder as he walked away and saw that the hounds were looking in his direction. Two of them began to slowly lope towards him, while the other 5 fanned out. Lorik thought that this wasn't good. Suddenly calm, he knew that he was done for. There would be no time to open the warren back to his world, nor would he, because he wouldn't want the hounds to follow him back. He thought that it would be better to die here. He heard water rushing behind him and turned around. A dragon filled his vision, low over the water, the talons spread wide and reaching down for him. He covered his head with his hands and arms as the dragon picked him up. He saw the hounds in a blur as he was flown away. He was carried far over the sea to an island where a flat tower stood. The claws opened up and let him go. As he landed, he looked up to stare at a gold and white dragon. Lorik shrugged and said, "Father, I've been looking for you."
I think that might be my favorite section.
I do like this section too.
It just felt very like traditional fantasy to me.
Oh, yeah. I guess I don't have much experience in traditional fantasy, but I could see what you mean based on the little I know.
I liked the setting. I don't know, I just liked everything about it.
Yeah, you can get a really good sense of the visual that was happening, right?
Yeah.
My first thought here is the sun was a glare behind the swirling storm of sand that was the whirlwind. And I think it's interesting how he's choosing to describe it here, because in my mind, the sun is setting, like it's an hour away, so the sun's not really like up, right? It's not in the sky anymore. But the wall of swirling sand is obscuring its setting. And I'm almost kind of wondering if there's maybe some symbolism here, as in the sun is setting on the whirlwind as a way of saying it's near the end.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Maybe.
It was cool. Like that's how I envisioned it in my mind was, the sun was setting, but there's just this hazy sand like in front of it.
Sure. Yeah. I can see where you would get that, but I just didn't think about it at the time.
And then again, the sanctification where the Toblakai's gods were once here. They once occupied this space, but then it makes it seem like they were forced out of it. And I think that forces Raraku, as it kind of more or less states it early or later on. So I think we're starting to get some more information about something that has just been like little clues and hints up until about this point. So now we got, more things to comprehend and add to the mix for sure.
There's always more.
And so here comes to my big woofta, my heavy fucker for the chapter. And that is, he figured that what he had entered was Raraku's ancient memory. So just bear with me while I just read this out. I've been thinking a lot about this, like a lot. Not even just at work, in my car rides home, things. There's a lot of personification with Raraku. And it makes me think back to chapter 18, where at Shaik's camp, the conspirators talk about the whirlwind becoming a house in the deck of dragons. I get this sense that the whirlwind is the reason why Raraku is the way it currently is, a dry, barren wasteland. And I believe the whirlwind will be destroyed. And again, branching into the waters coming back theory, I think the waters will return. Aligning with you there. And Raraku will be as it was in its ancient memories. But then that leads me to think that Raraku will become a house in the deck of dragons, and not the Whirlwind. So do you think that because Fiddler and Kalam, being that they're tasked with taking out the Whirlwind, will be rewarded with being Raraku's like Destriant or Mortal Sword or even like Shield Anvil? Because they all, like, each house has like players, right? So if it's Raraku that becomes a house in the deck of dragons, then he's going to need a Mortal Sword, a Destriant, a Shield Anvil. And so since they are kind of the first people, it's kind of, I don't know, it seems like an outlandish thought, but like, I don't know, just those 3 or 4 elements just kind of like fed into each other. And again, this was a lot of thinking. Like the Tano song, yeah.
I think it's a good thought. But yeah, because like all the houses, they have their players, right? And
Yeah.
it seems like sometimes you don't really get to decide like if you want that role or not. Like it's just kind of forced upon you.
Like Paran.
So
Right. Yeah, Gnos.
or even like Karsa.
Yep. Yep. As we find out at the end here. Sure.
Yeah. So I think I could see that happening. It doesn't seem like super outlandish to me.
Okay.
We're agreeing a little bit.
What?
We're agreeing a little bit.
I know. What the fuck? This ape-like man that he found, human but with dark brown hair covering the body and head. And this is confirmed later, but at this moment in time, I'm like, oh, I wonder if this is like an older Amass. And in my head canon, I always thought that they were oldest amongst the human lineage, but it kind of almost seems like we've got the human empire, we've got the soul taken, we've got the Amass, we've got, Trell, the Fen, the like all of these like things just branching off of each other, and so now it goes even further still. Like the family tree has been added to. It's just a lot to keep track of, is all.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
And then again, kind of just coming back to the hounds themselves. And the book says terrible beasts in the book. And I'm assuming that this is referring to the hounds. But I almost kind of for a second thought that maybe they were talking about the cow hunters. And then the hounds were tracking the cattle too. So I don't know if, like, there were 3 animals kind of all within like the same time frame, and he was just like the terrible beasts. So I'm not sure which one he was talking about, because the cattle were stampeding, the hounds are the hounds, and of course the cow hunters are the cow hunters. So I'm not, yeah.
I would assume, I mean, yeah, I think it could apply to the hounds and the cow.
Yeah. So maybe that's what we do. Okay. Well, yeah, that was all that I had as far as that section. It was cool. I mean, we got to see a memory from Raraku, and then a dragon,
Yeah.
a fucking dragon shows up.
It's always cool when dragon shows up.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm ready to move on if you are.
All right. Osric was not one to decorate his home. He had no furniture, the floor littered with what birds used to make their nests and their poo. Lorik watched his father pace back and forth, pure the ocean in appearance, tall and white as snow. His hair silver-streaked with gold, and his eyes looked to burn with rage. Lorik told his father that the Queen of Dreams believed he was lost. Osric said he will remain so. Lorik asked if he trusted her. Osric said he did trust her, but if she was ignorant to his whereabouts, he trusted her even more. Then he asked what Lorik was doing here. Lorik said he didn't even know where here was. He had been questing for truths. Osric asked how he had picked up his trail. Lorik said he didn't. He was hunting for something altogether different. Osric told him it nearly got him killed in the process. Lorik asked if he lived here. Osric said it was an observation point. Like a change from all sky keeps come from over the water to the north. Lorik asked if Moonspawn was a sky keep. His father said yes. Lorik continued saying it was Rake's floating castle that first took him on the trail to this place. What had he discovered that Rake hadn't? Osric snorted and told him only that laid at his feet. Moonspawn was damaged and breached. Then there was a slaughter. A few survived and took the journey home, but it never made it past the ice fields. And did he know that the glacier had traveled 1,000 leagues before he and Rake had found it north of the Lateron Plateau? Lorik asked if Moonspawn was originally one of the sky keeps that arrived in this place. Osric said that was correct, 3 having shown up in his time here. However, none had survived the Daragoth. Lorik had never heard that name before. Osric said that's what the Hounds of Darkness were called, the beasts that Dissemblacus made an alliance with. The Nameless Ones were not a fan of this, the beasts that gave the 7 cities their name, though that memory is not remembered by anyone anymore. The 7 holy cities of their time are not the original ones. Only the name had survived. Lorik asked what had happened to the Daragoth. Why were they here and not at 7 cities? Osric didn't know. It probably had something to do with the collapse of the First Empire. Lorik asked what warren they were in. Osric said it wasn't. It was a memory, one that was about to expire, since it's shrinking. Fly north a day's distance and you'll find a wall of oblivion. Lorik wanted to know whose memory. Osric shrugged and said Raraku's. Lorik said he made it sound like the desert was a living, breathing thing. Osric said, "Isn't it?" Lorik doubled down and questioned his father again. Osric said he wasn't saying it wasn't a living thing, but Lorik had just came from there. Lorik thought to himself that his father was a frustrating man. It was no surprise Rake had lost his temper. He asked about the half-humans that ran with the Daragoth. Osric said the Hounds maybe had domesticated them. Scholars thought humans had tamed dogs, but who knew who ran with who? Lorik said they weren't human or Imus. Osric told him one day they would be. They worked together with the wolves. Standing up gives them a better view paired with the beast's superior sense of smell and hearing. For now, the wolves are in charge, but that will eventually change, but probably not for the ones who serve the Daragoth. Lorik asked why. Osric told him something was about to change in this memory, and he hoped he would be able to see it before this world fades. Lorik wanted to know if the Hounds were the children of Mother Dark. He was told they were no one's children, and they had a smell about them, but he really had no idea. Daragoth just seemed appropriate. A Tice Andy name. Lorik corrected him, saying it would actually be Tin Jaragoth. Osric said he was like his mother. They couldn't stand each other for more than 3 days, but they could make a lifetime out of those 3 days. Lorik asked about him. Osric said he'd be lucky to get 3 bells. Lorik said very well, and said he may need his help in opening a path back to Raraku for him. But he might like some information on the Leosian and Kral Thirlin, his father's people. And the realm had lost its protector. They prayed for Osric's return. Osric asked about his son's familiar. He told his father it was killed by the Imus, and he just said to go get another one then. Lorik was getting mad and said it isn't that easy, and does he not feel any responsibility for the Leosian? They worship him. Osric, he said, Leosian worship themselves, and the realm may appear to be vulnerable, but it actually isn't. Lorik asked if he would make the same claim about the Daragoth. He was silent a moment and muttered that it was all her fault. Lorik asked if this observation tower was Jaghut. Osric said yes and wanted to know where they were at. Osric said east, west, south, just not here. They were not in the memory, and told him to stand back. His father shifted back into his dragon form, and like Animander, his father was more dragon than anything else. They were kin in blood, if not personality. Lorik wished he could understand his father, even like him. The dragon lifted an arm and opened his claw. Lorik said he would rather ride on his shoulders. His father didn't care and grabbed him. Lorik dealt with the indignity in silence. I like this section as well. I still think the other one was probably my favorite. A few thoughts on this section.
Yeah.
So my first one here is, Lorik asks his father if, he trusts the Queen of Dreams, and Osric says he'd trust her even more if she's, if she doesn't know where he is at. And so that just like, I felt like that was strange. So like, does he really trust her, or does he trust her not to do what she says she's going to do, or something along those lines? I don't know.
Like it's a double standard or a double negative kind of a thing. Like I
Yeah,
trust her as
something.
long as she doesn't know where I am type thing. That seems weird.
Yeah, it's like I trust her, but not really.
Right. Yeah. I trust her only when she knows where I am. But when she doesn't know where I am, I don't trust her. Or is it the other way around?
I think it's the other way around, but
Okay.
I still get your point. And then we get the Kachain Shamal. We've got the Kell Hunters, we've got the Short Tails, and I feel like there must be like at least one more type, if not more, because I just can't see these dudes with like sword arms making
Floating
a
mountain.
floating rock. Yeah, like
I don't know. Do you need to sculpt precisely with knives for arms?
and I don't know, but
I'm assuming it's not smooth, so maybe. I don't know. That's interesting. I guess I never really thought of it.
well, I mean, even if okay, so I mean, even if we pretend that they made them, do you think they're the ones flying it?
I would assume that maybe it's kind of like it's a bug planet, Starship Troopers, right? Where there's different types of bugs, except
Yeah.
this applies to like reptiles. The matrons are brain bugs, et cetera, et cetera.
Dude, I love that movie.
I
haven't
do
watched that in
too.
a while.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, I can get on board with that for sure.
All right. And then Osric says, that moon spawn was damaged and breached. I'm assuming this must have been like way in the past and not like the damage that was suffered in Memories of Ice.
Yeah, yeah. But that would explain why, I mean, in Memories of Ice, it was pretty much at its last end, right? Think about how many wars it's been used in, right? And it was damaged all the way back here.
Right. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. And then it talks about Rake. He found it north of the later on plateau. So what do you think he was doing up there? Do you think he like encountered the Teblor?
I think that this happened way before the Teblar were probably a thing.
Okay.
So I would imagine that where the Teblar currently live now is probably all encased in ice.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I don't know.
All right. I had this like crazy harebrained idea, and now I don't know that it makes sense. But at the time, I was like, "Whoa!" But like that ghost that Kalan saw, we didn't get his name. But do you think it was the ghost of Decemblacus? Because
No.
it did talk about like an alliance. That ghost did talk about an alliance that he made.
Are you talking about the ghost where he comes out of the basin? Or are you talking about
Yeah.
something else?
No, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I always just assumed that the ghosts were like soldiers on the march away from defeating in a city or something.
Yeah, but that one was
Oh,
the,
you're talking
said
about the like
he said I
the
gave him a
Tano.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, "Are you a Tano Spirit Walker?" And he's like, "Is that an honorific?" Because yeah,
Yeah, I just like
maybe.
I don't I don't know that I believe it now, but at the time I was like, whoa, maybe that makes sense. I
Yeah.
don't know. And then, like Osric says that they're in a memory and one that's shrinking. Do you think this is the descent then from the prologue?
No, I don't know. I view it as like a video, right? So you watch a video, and as you get closer to the end, the world shrinks. So I think that what is happening is that it's just getting closer to the end of the memory, so it's shrinking. If that makes any fucking sense. That whole part, and like I think I touch on it in the next section too, because I couldn't create a canon for it. Like, I understand for what
Gotcha.
it is, but like, again, the itty bitty details just weren't there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Osric said he was like his mother, and just the way like Osric talks, I just got like the image of Hugo Weaving playing him as like a character. I don't know why, but that's just kind of what like stuck out to me.
I don't know who that is.
V for Vendetta, he was in that. He was the one elf in Lord of the Rings, which you haven't seen.
Yeah, you're naming movies I haven't watched.
Yeah. You ever watch V for Vendetta? You see The Matrix?
Yeah.
He is what was Neo's like nemesis name in that?
Oh, it's been forever. I don't even remember.
Mr.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson. That was Neo's name, right? That's what they call it. He was the robot dude or whatever, the agent.
Yeah.
That was Hugo Weaving.
That would always go, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And then, he just kind of keeps going here. He's like, oh, I couldn't stand your mother for more than 3 days, and you'd be lucky to get 3 hours. Like, God damn. Like, ouch, Dad. It's gotta hurt here.
That stings.
Like, yeah, that sucks.
What a dick. For sure.
Yeah. And then I thought, Lorik tells his dad that the Leosians, they worship him, right?
Yeah.
And Osric doesn't really care. I mean, I wonder if he has ever cared or if this is just like a recent thing, but it was just a neat perspective to me that like I get the sense that a lot of times like God's like they want the attention, they want to be worshipped, and he's just like, yeah, I don't care. Just leave me alone.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. I think, like, from my perspective, being that it's a memory, it's his mindset at that time may not be a reflection of his current thought. I don't know.
Gotcha. It was an interesting thing, I thought, that's all.
Yeah. It is a neat perspective.
And that was everything I had.
Oh, all right. Did you have any other final thoughts for your section 4 there?
Man, Osric's kind of a dick. Like, he just like grabs his son. Like, he's like, I want to ride on your shoulders. He's like, nope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's more information, right? Like, this is a character that we haven't had, we've heard of him, but, this is our first interaction with him. And it's a memory, right? It's not even like him. So.
You don't think it's really him, like, there in that memory?
Oh, I think it's him in that memory, but I don't think it's him presently.
Gotcha.
It's like watching a family video from the 90s, right? Like, you see yourself, but it's not you.
Sure. Okay. I got you.
That's kind of like the canon I have around it, is that it's like an archive,
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm ready to go if you are.
Yeah, go ahead.
Osric flew westward, following the coastline. Soon forests would appear. The ground below began to climb, and the wind he felt was icy. Lorik then saw snow. He could recall no mountains from the future that matched the ancient scene. He wondered if perhaps this memory, like so many, were flawed. Osric began to descend, and Lorik saw a vast white emptiness, as if the mountain before them had been cut in half. They were approaching that edge. The dragon was headed for a roughly level strip of snow. To the west of that, oblivion. Osric hovered for a moment and then released Lorik. Lorik then collected himself, and his father veered into his Leosin form. There were things moving about near the edge of the fading memory. They were moving about feebly. Osric stomped through the snow towards them. He said that the creatures stumble and explained that some of them die quickly on the verge, but some linger. Lorik asked what they were. His father explained that they were demons. Osric approached one such creature, dog-sized and reptilian, with 4 hands similar to apes. It had 4 eyes in a diamond pattern. Osric pointed out that this one might suit Corald Thierlin. Lorik asked what kind of demon it was. Osric said that he had no clue, but asked his son to reach out to the thing and see how it behaves. Lorik crouched down and engaged in conversation with it. The creature said that he had been told that Lorik would come, but it had been too soon. Lorik said that he was not from this place and that the creature was dying. Lorik asks what this creature name was. The four-eyed frog ape arm creature asked why Lorik required that. Simply an observation, as it likely meant a partnership, a binding of spirits, in exchange for his life. He said that this was an uneven exchange. Lorik assured the creature that he was still going to save him, take him back to his world, where it was warmer. The creature perked up and said that he'd like that, and if Lorik saved him, then they could talk more about their alliance. Osric asked if it was done, and Lorik said no, but he was going to save the creature and bring it back to Raraku anyway. Osric said that this was dumb, as Lorik would have to no control over the demon because the bond wasn't there. Lorik said that he would risk it. Osric said that well. Osric said very well, and they proceeded to go back to the lake where Lorik had first emerged. Lorik watched, and Osric walked away and veered into his dragon form. The creature screams into Lorik's mind about keeping an Eliant as a companion. Lorik explained to the creature that Eliant was his father. The creature was delighted and introduced himself as Grey Frog, born of Mirpool's clutch in the 20th season of Darkness. He said that he's proudly fathered 31 clutches of his own. Lorik asked how Grey Frog had gotten here. Grey Frog responded that he took one hop too far. So, kind of going back to the beginning a little bit, where it says Lorik saw a vast white emptiness, as if the mountain before them had been cut in half. I believe it was chapter 2, before Karsa, Bayroth, and Delim reached Bone Pass. They pointed out a mountain or something that looked like it had been cut in half by a giant axe or something. Do you remember that?
No, not at all.
I'm just wondering if maybe that's like the other part, maybe the other half. And it makes me think of like tectonic plates, like a Pangea type thing, right? Like in our world, all of the continents were all one. And I'm wondering if maybe this is kind of the similar thing. If things are shifting and mountains cut in half and one ends up one place and the other ends up in another place, et cetera, et cetera.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Got some continental drift going
right?
on.
Because later on is all the way in Genebacus, the northwestern Genebacus. And they're in 7 cities. They're in Raraku. So
that would be something if they were the same thing.
Yeah. So maybe during this memory, while it's still stationed in 7 cities, maybe they're connected. Maybe all of the continents at this point in time are connected.
Or much, much closer anyways.
Exactly. Kind of going back to your thing about the oblivion, the verge, right? What exactly does this mean? Like, verge of the memory? Does the oblivion represented in here? Are there only demons on the verge? Does that mean the demon realm is near the verge or every verge? I don't know. I was just like curious about the logistics of what exactly this means.
I have no idea what it means.
Yeah, this one was tough for me. So I could have swore we've heard of Grey Frog before. I could have swore his name came up once before.
Is it something you dare search?
No, I'm not gonna say. Not gonna. No. If this is his like first introduction, I'm not risking it. Yeah, I could have swore. Maybe it wasn't in the books, but maybe somebody was talking about it. I don't know.
I don't have any, I guess, recollection of hearing that name before, but
it sounds familiar to me. The last thing that I will say is that the very ending of this section is kind of confusing because you're like, you took one top hop too far. Like, what does that mean? But it just meant that he hopped into the verge, and that was one hop away from life or death. Kind of like a dad joke of sorts, I guess you could say. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I wonder what, like, the other side, where he came from, what that was. Yeah, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Is it like maybe another memory? Like, I mean, earlier Osric says that it's not a warren, it's a memory. I don't know. There's just so much new information that You just ride it. You just see where it goes.
Take the wave, baby.
But outside of those very few things, he's basically, grabbing a demon so that he can have it protect the Leos and Warren.
Which I don't know.
It's a new protector.
Unless this thing's got some like other powers, it doesn't seem like he's going to be super effective.
Yeah, he seems very dull, doesn't he?
Yeah,
But
unless he's going to have like a big appetite, like eat whatever shows up.
I feel like we get a little bit of a sense of that in my next section. But yeah.
All right, well, you ready for my short one? All right.
Yeah.
Grey Frog drug himself onto the warm sand. As Lorik turned, the gate was already closing. He had found his father, and leaving him had been just as quick. He didn't think his father felt indifference towards him, more like he was a distraction. Osric was only interested in himself and his own pursuits. He looked to Grey Frog and gave him his name and asked if he wanted to figure out their partnership. Grey Frog said he smelled meat. He was hungry and wanted to eat before they discussed partnership. He was firm on this. Lorik said that was fine. He would find him some meat, as there were rules as to what Grey Frog could and could not kill here. Grey Frog asked him to explain these rules to him, as he was cautious and didn't want to offend anyone. Lorik said he would do this. I don't really have any thoughts.
Really interested to see where it goes. Like, what is this? So I'm just curious at this point. Curious and intrigued. So
yeah. I don't really have any thoughts on the section other, like you said, it'll be interesting to see what becomes of this. Like, I wonder what there is, what more there is to see of Grey Frog.
Well, and you remember in Memories of Ice where Quick Ben releases the binds of the demon dog in front of Boshalan and Corporal Broach's estate in Kafistan?
Was that the one that like
where like Quick Ben visits the necromancers and he like basically punches them and out the door and all that stuff.
Maybe I might be thinking of something else, but maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a binding process to demons, so it was kind of cool. Like Osric was maybe template matching a little bit as far as, oh, well, if you don't bind him before you bring him there, he's just gonna wreak havoc everywhere, and he's not.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that makes Grey Frog different. I don't know.
It seems like he wants to be helpful. I mean, he doesn't want to piss anybody off. So,
what was the frog that the painter in Memories of Ice was accompanied
Isn't that a toad,
with?
like a big toad?
But it wasn't Grey
No,
Frog?
I don't think so. I can't remember what that thing's name was. Let's see if we can find it here quick. Grumble.
Grumble, that's what it is. So I'm wondering if Grumble is some type of demon. Maybe there's a relation. But maybe it's the Whirlpool. Does Grumble say that he was also part of, or maybe Grey Frog is his dad or something?
I don't remember on that at all.
Okay. I'm gonna search up Grumble from Memories of Ice. Okay, I'm not scrolling down to Bone Hunters. I'm just in Memories of Ice. Yeah, it doesn't say anything. Okay.
What? So I wonder if he shows back up in the Bone Hunters. If that was something you could have scrolled down to.
Yeah, I'm not going to scroll down.
No answers there.
Okay. All right, well, no answers. Okay. I don't know where I heard that from then. It's going to drive me crazy. It's going to drive me absolutely crazy. Maybe I'm just like imagining it. I don't know.
Maybe. I guess we'll see. Well, I'm sure we'll learn more about him.
Oh, yeah. For sure, dude. But yeah, I'm ready to continue on if you are, good sir.
Yeah, take it away.
All right. Vengeance had been her life for so long, and now she was days away from coming face to face with her sister, and they would play the game's end. Tavor's legion was fresh, the territory was hers, the army of the apocalypse were veterans of the rebellion and had more numbers. Shaik now understood that the Whirlwind goddess drew upon an elder Warren, but purely, at least enough to resist Otaterel. Tavor's mages consisted of 2 broken Wiccan warlocks, while Shaik had 4 high mages, including Fael and Hanaris. All in all, Defeat seemed impossible, yet she was terrified. She sat alone in her vast tent, and she wanted to run. The game was too hard. The situation was fraught. She thought to herself that vengeance was a wasted emotion, but yet she has let it consume her. She gave it like a gift to the goddess. There were moments of clarity, but they were dimming as the whirlwind squeezed tighter and tighter. She thought to herself that her sister had traded her to the Empress to convince Tovor's loyalty to the throne. She, in turn, traded her freedom to the power of the whirlwind, so she could deliver vengeance against her sister. She wondered if they were really any different, or that different. Fragments of clarity, sure, but they led nowhere. She could ask all the questions, but seemed unable to seek answers. She was being kept from asking why. It was another question she knew she could not answer. She thought to herself that the goddess didn't want her thinking. She sent someone approaching and sent a silent command to her guards to let them through. The curtain parted ways and Bidithal entered, saying that it was late for one such as herself to be awake. He told her that she should be resting for the battles, as some have already started. He leaned on his staff and smiled. He stated that the coals of the fire were fading. Shaik said that she thought the growing shadows would please him. Bidithal said that they weren't his, as he's never been a priest of Minas. Shaik agreed and said that here it was Rashan, ghost child of Karald Gulain, yet the warren it claimed was nonetheless a shadow. Shaik said that they both knew that the differences mattered little when one delves into the mystery of the ancient trifecta. She said that shadow, after all, was born of the clash between light and dark. In essence, the warren of Minas was drawn from both Thirlin and Gulain, a sort of hybrid. Bidithal said that most sorceress arts available to humans were, and explains that he doesn't follow what point she's trying to make. She shrugged and said that only Bidithal sent his shadow's servants to spy on her. She asked what it was that they would witness. He said to her to think of them as protectors instead of spies. She wondered if his fears were specific, and if this was the reason why he came to visit. Bidithal says that he's close to discovering the exact nature of the threat, but his concerns at the moment lie with Ghost Hands and Lorik. Shaik wondered if he really thought those two were part of the conspiracy. He said no, and that he believes other forces are at play. He explains that it's not just them and the Malazans on the brink of convergence. Shaik agreed, and Bidithal continued on to say that Hoborik was not as he once was, and he is a priest once more. Shaik lifted her eyebrow and stated that Fenner was gone. Bidithal said Fenner, not Fenner, but Treach, the Tiger of Summer. His need will be great for mortals to aid him, and be given the ancient titles of Mortal Sword, Destriant, Shield Anvil, and the powers the god invests in them. Shaik was in disbelief and states that Ghost Hands would never accept another god, and he's not the most pious as he's committed many crimes. Bidithal said that nonetheless, Treach has picked his Destriant. Shaik asked what evidence he had of this. Bidithal explained that he hides well, but not well enough. Finally, Shaik shrugged and said that it made sense as to why he chose here, as they were at war after all. She said that she would think about this development, but at the moment, she cannot see the relevance. Bidithal suggests that the easiest relevance to comprehend is that Hoborik is no longer broken. However, given Hoborik's conflicting feelings about the looming battle, he poses a potential threat. Shaik said that she thought not, and affirmed that she would mull on it. She asked what has got Lorik caught up in Bidithall's web as well. Bidithal said that he's been extremely elusive about his comings and goings. Shaik suggested that perhaps Lorik was tired of his endless prodding. Bidithal was sure that Lorik was unaware that it was indeed Bidithal who was solely keeping an eye on him. Febyrl and the Napan had their own spies after all. They fear Lorik as he's managed to reject their every approach. Shaik commands Bidithal to leave Lorik alone. She said that he better be focusing on the Whirlwind's interest and finding out what Dom Rouleau and Febyrl were up to. He bowed and told her very well. With a slight wave of her hand, she dismissed him. Bidethal thought to himself as he exited Shaik's tent that he wouldn't call off his shadows, as he's not foolish enough to do that. Shadows gathered all around him, and he thought to himself, "Do you remember the dark?" He smiled to himself as soon as this fragment of a warren would soon become a realm unto itself. The Whirlwind goddess would need a priesthood, a structure of power in the mortal world. In such an organization, there would be no place for Shaik, outside of a minor shrine to honor her memory. For now, the focus was on the Malazan Empire, and Shaik would be needed as the vessel of the Whirlwind's power. He suspected that the alliance between Febyrl and Rouleau and the Napan was but temporary. Bidethal suspected that Febryl's plans held a hidden, final betrayal. Bidethal thought that he couldn't figure out what that final betrayal would be. He thinks to himself that he must be preemptive and that he must side with Shaik, for it will be by her hand that the conspirators will be crushed. A hiss of voices made him stop, and he found Febyrl standing before him. Febyrl asked if his visit with Shaik was fruitful. Bidethal responded that it always was. He asked what Febyrl wished of him. The High Mage said that the time has come and Bidethal needs to pick a side. Bidethal asked if there was a third option. Febyrl wondered if that meant that Bidethal would fight them, but said that this wasn't an option, but to instead hear his reward. Bidethal seemed to perk up at this and told Febyrl that he was listening. Febyrl explains that Shaik will be gone, along with the Malazan Empire, and 7 cities will be freed as it once was. However, the Whirlwind will remain, returned to the cult of Dryjana, which has always been at the heart of the rebellion. Such a cult needs a master, needs a high priest. Febyrl smiled and asked how Bidethal would shape such a cult. Febyrl smiled and said that Bidethal had already begun. Febyrl declares that they know all about Bidethal's special children. He tells Febyrl to imagine all of 7 cities offering him their unwanted daughters. Bidethal licked his lips and then said that he would have to think about it. Febyrl explained that there was no time, as things had already been put into motion. Bidethal said very well and accepted Febryl's offer, but his cult must remain his own for him to shape as he liked, without interference. Febyrl said that there would be no interference from himself, nor Dom, nor Rouleau, as Dom has made vows with both the Empress and Shaik. Bidethal in his head thought that Dom had made vows with Febyrl too. They verbally agreed, and Bidethal watched as Febyrl walked away. The High Priest thought about how Febyrl had known his shadow children were surrounding him, but yet ignored them. There legitimately was no third option, or he would be dead, and voiced defiance. He could feel Hood all around him, and there in this alley, his powers were compromised. He had to find out what Febyrl was getting his confidence from. Bidethal wondered which move Febyrl would make, but the offer did sound appealing. Febyrl had promised not to intervene in his cult, even as Febyrl had ignored Bidethal's power he had already created, which made him think that Febyrl had knowledge of how he created that power. Bidethal thought that you didn't dismiss what you knew nothing of. After all, at least not at this stage. Bidethal resumed his journey back to his temple. He felt vulnerable, and that was an unfamiliar sensation, and that made his limbs tremble. Ugh, woofda.
Kind of an icky section.
Very icky. Yes. What is prominent to you?
Just like Bidethal's just salivating at the thought of like all these, as they're called, the unwanted daughters, right?
Yeah. And you're immediately brought back to Lestara's story earlier in the book.
Well, and then it even gets worse later, I think, with Skillara.
Yeah, that was a tough section to read over and over again. So, absolutely. My first thought, I had a few actually for this section. And at the very beginning, I think that it's interesting that she uses the word games, end. Like, and they would play to the game's end, right? And I think this is interesting word choice because there's so many other words that he could have used there. And I really only call it out because it plays into my theory about the Parans mirroring the Tistan or the Tist races, right? Another interesting thing is I didn't summarize it, but there are actually two more word game directly after it. So you've got 3 games total, 3 Parans total, and 3 Tist races.
Oh, interesting. I totally don't remember that, but that's super interesting.
I got it right here. I almost went right to the page. I was like close.
Not only do you know chapters, you know pages.
Yeah, it's getting there. So the section starts off, vengeance had been her lifeblood for so long, and now within days, she would come face to face with her sister to play out the game's end run. A vicious game, but a game nonetheless.
Huh. Interesting. I think that whole theory, I think we should ask Erickson about if we get the chance to. I wonder, like, if there's actually something there, or if it's just something that, like, like it just seems to fit.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we could totally ask him, but I feel like that's a question where you can't really say anything to because it's clearly spoiler.
Right. It might be something where he just, it's just a read and find out type thing, really.
Yeah. I feel like there's probably better questions we can ask him with his time.
I don't know. I think
we
that's
were
a pretty
supposed to
good
keep
one.
this a secret.
Well, I did say if.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. If. Shit. I don't know how I'm going to edit that one out. Okay, whatever. I don't care.
Nothing official, anyways, but
Right.
hopeful.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as schedules align.
Yeah. This part where she talks about the gift of the goddess, right? And she's kind of comparing the fact that Tavor gave up her sister to make her look loyal to the Empress. And then she herself gifted the Whirlwind to deliver vengeance against her sister. And she kind of wondered if they were really any different. And I really like this mirroring. So maybe Tavor and Felazin are like Dark and Shadow, Caster and Castee, so to speak. And interesting that in her mind, her sister traded her away, but really it was really to protect her from the call of the nobles, right? It was to keep her alive.
Right.
While Shaik just misunderstood. And I really hope that there can be reconciliation in those final moments, but I think that Shaik is going to die. And I think that they're not going to get that chance to reconcile.
I think you're right, because I think Shaik, Bellison, whatever you want to call her, I think she'll die too. Well, I don't know if it happens in this book, maybe, but just think like it would be kind of a tragic thing though if she does get that like moment where she realizes it was just all a big misunderstanding, but she still dies,
Yep. Mm-hmm. Exactly. You are following my thought 100%. How tragic, right?
Yeah.
But like, how minimal is that? Like, all just for a common misunderstanding. Sometimes the wind just takes you where the wind takes you.
It just makes me think, all those choices that you make and how it affects everybody else. And that's where it leads. You could have done one thing different and then you don't get there, you go somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a very thought-provoking moment from like the mind of Shaik, right? Like clearly she's kind of making it seem as if it really is just a misunderstanding. Like, oh, it's vengeance is a worthwhile or not worthwhile. It's like a waste of time, But Tavor gifted me to the Empress, and well, what did I give? My heart and soul to the Whirlwind just to get back at her, Like, does that make me any different than my sister? Yeah, well, I mean, that's a conversation for another podcast, I guess. But this part where they're talking about Minas is drawn from both Deerlin and Galen as sort of hybrid. And Bidithal says that most sorceress arts available to humans are. And so, like, my artistic brain is like, I immediately thought of the color wheel, right? So, like, you just, like, if you think of human warrens as just separate colors, and then they all just kind of mix together. Therefore, you have, like, sorceress arts. So, like, you take, I don't know, the sorcery of pooping and mix it with the sorcery of social media. And now you have social media making videos of, people pooping or something. I don't know. It's just like this, like all of the different combinations of warrens and things that are available to humans. It almost seems like it's endless.
You've got literal shit posting.
Right. Exactly.
You left that joke on the table for me.
Yes, literally. I got up there and left it.
Yeah.
I dropped it right on the table for you.
A big steaming pile.
You sent me a video like that earlier.
Which one?
The massage parlor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know how people go. How do you do that with a straight face?
I don't know. I don't.
We'll move on. That's probably enough poop jokes for today.
This next thought that I had revolves around a little bit later when Bidithal suspects that Febryl's plans held a hidden final betrayal. And I know that in the very first section where we kind of get Febryl's perspective on things, he alludes to this too, but he doesn't really give a ton of details. And I just can't help but wonder what this is. And I get the impression that he wants the Whirlwind goddess for himself to maybe use it to destroy the Malazan Empire and, satisfy or quelch the Talani mass that isn't responsible for the Whirlwind some resolve, and maybe it just stops. I don't know.
It is kind of hard to keep track of, at least for me, because I feel like there's so many things going on. There's Febryl's got these secret plans, Loric's got these plans, Bidithal's got these plans, and it's just kind of there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an army that is at odds with itself.
Not good for that army.
No. A hiss of voices made him stop and found Febyrl standing before him. It said spectral voices, so I wonder if that's maybe a hint as to the warren Febyrl operates, because we don't really know, do we?
I don't know, dude. I don't really keep track of who uses what warren.
Well, I mean, I could tell you that we definitely don't know yet.
Okay, I'll trust you on that.
It's just, I feel like these things are hints that I just kind of pick up on. So
I feel if he wrote it and said, Edmund Rake used this warren, and then, the next chapter he said he used a different warren, I don't know that I would catch that. Maybe I would, but it's just they're just kind of there.
It's the magic system.
Right. Yeah. I don't dwell on it too much, I guess.
I just love the details, dude. I just love the details. And then this part where return to the cult of Dryjana, which had always been at the heart of the rebellion. So what I'm assuming this means is that it's a cult of Imas, potentially going against the ritual, as it was said earlier that the Whirlwind lives outside of the ritual. So maybe the Imas split up into factions. This one just seemed to be hell-bent on destruction, So like a group of people that's segregated from the main, right? And to the Imas, segregation is a crime because they didn't agree with everyone else, and they're like, well, I'm going to form my own militia and go get angry. I don't know.
I follow you.
So the Book of Dryjana was created by a group of Imas that started a cult. And then this part where they talk about Dom and Rillo. Dom has made a vow with Febyrl, but Dom has also made vows with the Empress and Shaik. And Bidethal knows that Dom is going to betray Shaik, otherwise he wouldn't be in bed with Febyrl. But he also betrayed the Empress too. Bidethal is deducing that Dom is probably going to do the same to Febyrl.
Don't trust him.
It sounds like Febyrl is already anticipating that.
Which is probably a good move on his part.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I guess I don't know if he's really. They said it like it feels kind of weird, feeling like I trust Lorik a little bit. You know, when we first met the three of them, it's like, oh, they're supposed to be bad.
I remember feeling that too. Yeah.
And now it's kind of like, well, I don't really know how I feel about Febyrl. Lorik, I'm kind of liking, and obviously Bidethal is just a giant piece of crap. But
asshole. Yeah.
So yeah,
interesting.
I don't know. I wonder. It's just I don't know where that's going.
I'm not sure either. If I had to say out of the three, I think Bidethal is probably the one that's going to die. The other two, I'm not sure what their fates are.
Oh, I mean, Bidethal 100% deserves it. I hope it happens. And,
yep.
And yeah, the other two, I don't. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know what's going to happen with them. I'd be kind of upset, I think, if Lorik died.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And Febyrl, I guess I'd be kind of indifferent, I guess.
I feel like he's the one that we got to know the least amount, so I can't really say one way or the other with him.
Yeah, I agree with you.
A couple more here for you. Near the end, Bidethal says that he could feel Hood all around him, and here in that alley that he stood, his powers were compromised. And I wonder if Febyrl has joined the crippled god, because this loss of power makes me think of the Warrens being poisoned that we found out in Memories of Ice. And those that were in alliance with the crippled god had the ability to use theirs, but with their enemies, they couldn't. So I'm wondering if that's what Febyrl was doing. That's how he was able to not be intimidated by the shadow children surrounding him, thus not allowing Bidethal to have a third option to fight.
I don't know whether I agree or disagree, or it's just going to be kind of a wait and find out thing for me.
Probably Waffo. Yep, wait and find out.
Yeah, Raffo and Waffle.
Yep.
We should start like a breakfast buffet here.
Mm-hmm. Last thought, and then we can move on. Bidethal thought that you didn't dismiss what you already knew nothing of, at least not at this stage. And I feel like this is referring to Febyrl knowing that Bidethal was or had created a power for his cult. Bidethal had gotten started way earlier on his plans. So when Bidethal's shadow children were surrounding them as they spoke, Febyrl easily dismissed them because he already had knowledge of how they were made, which is why at the end, Bidethal's like, I feel very vulnerable and I'm very unfamiliar with this. So it kind of alludes to the fact that this isn't something he wanted to be out in the open. And so once Febyrl discovered it, now he's going to use it for himself. Is kind of the vibe that I got from that. Could be wrong.
It just seems like it's weird that like he doesn't want that to be out in the open, but he's pretty out in the open about his other activities,
Yeah.
Which, like, I mean, if you're going to hide something, I feel like that would want to be the thing that you were going to hide. Not that that makes it better, but like, I don't know.
Well, he knows no one's going to do anything about it.
Well, I think somebody's going to do something about it. I hope somebody's
I think so too.
I hope somebody's going to do something about it.
Yeah.
But we're running out of pages here, so hopefully it's coming quick.
Yeah, that was all the thoughts that I had about that section. So I feel for Malazan. I would be scared shitless at this point too.
All right. Well, we can move on here. I think this was my kind of icky section here. So
yeah.
Scalara broke out into a coughing fit, and Corbolo Dom told her to be quiet. He rolled her something to drink and told her after she was done to open the screens. He could hardly see and hear. She listened as he walked off and felt her congested chest, and her head felt cloudy as she tried to remember what had happened. Febyrl had shown up, and she thought he was excited. Something about her master, Bidethal, and some long-awaited victory. They both had gone to the back rooms. She wanted to serve her master well, to the best of her abilities, so that she might earn new responsibilities, ones that did not require her to submit her body to men. One day, Bidethal would not be able to attend to all the new girls like he did now. There would be too many for him to manage, and she thought she could help take care of them with the cutting away of pleasure. The girls wouldn't appreciate it at first, but she would be able to help them with that. Kind words and plenty of durhang to dull the pain and outrage. She tried to remember if she felt outrage and where that thought popped into her head so suddenly. She stood up nude and made her way to the screens, recalling that she had twice been pregnant, but Bidethal had helped her cleanse her body with tea. She wondered if another napkin seed had now taken root within her. She folded the screen down and looked out into the dark. There were 2 guards to her left, faces hidden behind helms. They looked at her, no greeting, no comments. She walked outside, and one of the guards asked her if she had her fill for the night. Scalara said it was hard to breathe in there. It felt like she was drowning, and she wanted to walk. One of the guards laughed at the thought of drowning in a desert. She started walking, but one of the guards told her not tonight. Febyrl was tired of her spying and he wants Bidethal to be blind and deaf in the camp. The guard was sorry about it. He said he would make it as painless as possible. Really, this was a mercy for her. He had liked her once. She was always smiling, but that was probably the drugs. He said he was tempted to take her. Better him than some bow-legged nappin for her last memory of love. Scalara put it together that he meant to kill her. The guard said this was correct. He could not disobey his master in this, and she would be relieved it was him doing it, not some stranger. He will not be cruel to her. Did she notice how the floors had been swept in these ruins? This wasn't the first time this had happened, and there was a well for the bodies. Scalara was surprised and asked if he would throw her body down it. The guard said only her body. Her soul would be through Hood's gate by then. He told her to lay down for her last time. She laid on his cloak as he undressed. He drew his knife, set it to the side, and the guard was about to take advantage of her. She thought there was no pleasure in this, even though he is a handsome man and some wife's husband. He preferred pleasure before business like she used to, but there was no pleasure to be had. This was business. She slowly grabbed the knife and stabbed him in the back, through the vertebrae and into the intestines. She pushed the body to the side and thought a desert woman for his last memory of love. She thought to herself, she was a vessel, ever filled, but there was always room for more. More durhang, more men and their seed, ever filled, but never full. There was no base to her. As she stood up, the other guard had taken notice and called her a murdering bitch as she approached and drew his dagger. He called the dead guard a fool for ignoring what Febyrl had told him to do. As she was busy watching the hand with the dagger, the other surprised her as she was punched in the face. She came back to consciousness as she was being drugged by one arm and could smell the latrine pit. The man said she wouldn't be so pretty when she was drowning in the filth. It was a simple task, and his buddy was a fool. There were plenty of whores in camp. The man stopped, and Scalara could see a figure ahead in the darkness. He dropped her arm and tried to draw his sword, but his head snapped back and blood flew. She thought there was a faint green glow from the hands of the man who killed the guard. The man told Scalara he had been looking for her, or so he had just realized. It was extraordinary how single lives fold into the mess over and over again, all caught up in the greater swirl, spinning around and seemingly ever downward. They were fools to think they could swim clear of the current. Scalara realized he was tattooed like a tiger. He kept speaking, saying there was plenty of killing going on lately, loose ends being tied up. He put his hand on her chest and heat raced through her. He grunted, saying he thought it was consumption, but no, just too much durhang. As for the rest, well, that's what is odd about pleasure. Not that Bidethal would ever let her know. Its enemy is not pain. Pain is just a path taken to indifference. Indifference destroys the soul, which Bidethal likes since they mirror his own broken soul. If he kept speaking, Scalara did not hear. Long-lost sensations flooded back to her, only slightly deadened by the lingering effects of the Durang. She felt badly used between her legs and knew that feeling would soon pass. She said one word, outrage. He asked if she had spoken. Between coughs, she asked where he was taking her. He said to his temple. It was safe there. Febyrl and Bidethal would not find her there. She had been force-healed and needed to sleep. Scalara asked what he wanted with her. The man said he didn't know yet, but he thought he would need her help. However, the choice was hers. She didn't need to surrender anything. She didn't want to. If she wanted to walk away, he would give her money and find a horse, but they would talk about this tomorrow. He asked her name. He said he was Heberic Lighttouch, destined to Treach, the tiger of summer and god of war. She told him she would disappoint him. She was tired of priests. Heberic said that was fine. So was he.
I'm glad she came out of it unscathed.
I mean, relatively, right?
Or, wow, she's alive, is what I'm trying to say. But, it's just douchebags being douchebags,
Right. And it's like, I feel like kind of the shitty thing is that, like, this isn't the first time that this has probably happened to her. So, like,
She's just so desensitized by it.
yeah, like, it should be a traumatic thing. And I hate to say it's like normalized for her, but it, like, kind of seems like maybe it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's justified to herself.
Yeah, which is just kind of sad.
Yeah.
A few thoughts here. My first one, she's thinking that she wants to earn new responsibilities, one that did not require her to submit her body to men. And when I first read that sentence, I'm like, okay, well, this is a good thing, since she's not going to be like raped or assaulted. But then, like in the next sentence, she's just like, well, I can do Bidethal's job. I can, mutilate these girls. I'm like, well, okay, maybe this isn't such a good thing because, like it's hard to, like, I don't know, like, is that worse than her getting assaulted? Like, I mean, they're both objectively terrible things, right? But I don't know. I feel like if you're doing that to kids, it's probably worse. I mean,
Yeah.
and again, to like
Yeah.
try to justify it, like, well, she can just get high basically and like not feel it is still
Right.
terrible. But
Like,
I
just
don't
be
know.
a pimp.
Yeah,
Pimpess.
it just is. It's just gross.
This is a really gross section. So, I love the fact that Habork, clearly seems to give her the impression that he's not there to do what everyone else is usually there to do.
Yeah.
So that's got to be a little reassuring, even though I'm sure she's probably like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wonder. I mean, she's been, again, like, to call it a lifestyle seems kind of rough, but she's been in this like lifestyle for we don't know how long. It's just kind of what she knows. So maybe it's almost like hard to trust Heberick. I don't know. Or like she wouldn't be surprised if things went the other way. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know if I ever gave that any thought. The whole one day I could do what Bidethal does. Like, one day I won't have to be the lowly worker. One day I can be the boss, essentially, is kind of what I take out of that.
Yeah.
What you're laying down there.
Yeah. So I don't know how you like I'm not sure the word I'm trying to think of, like reinvent yourself from that mindset. That's not the
Yeah, I
word
don't
I'm
know.
looking for. I can't really think of it, but
I'm assuming it's probably like feral children, right? Like, they're so used to just surviving that once they're taken out of that environment, they still feel like they have to survive. So I would imagine that it's similar here, where Scalara is in another tent with a dude.
Just surviving.
Exactly.
This part where Scalar is kind of like putting the pieces together that this guard like is going to kill her and then chuck her body down a well. And he's like, well, yeah, but it's just going to be your body. Your soul will be through Hood's Gate by then. Like, oh, okay, well, that makes it fine then. Like, you're not really selling me on this very much here, buddy. Like,
Right. Yeah. Yep. I like your comment. Eye roll.
yeah. And then, so like the dude lays her down, or Skillar lays down, and he starts getting undressed, and he puts his knife down, and like, you're such an idiot,
Dumbass.
like, and I immediately thought of Fellison with Bowden when she tried to kill him, except this time the plan worked, right? But I immediately knew where this was going. As soon as like the knife was going down, I'm like, okay, well, this seems fairly obvious where this is going to go.
Yeah, I would agree.
That was all I had for thoughts, but Heberick's little speech to her, telling that, pain is not the enemy of pleasure. Pain is the path to indifference. Indifference destroys the soul. I like that whole paragraph.
Right. I do
That
too.
was good.
It definitely stands out.
Yeah. But that was all I had for that section. I don't know if you had anything to add.
No, I felt that it was fairly straightforward. I liked Hoborik at the end there because he seems to kind of have. He just kind of seems like he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like before, he became Treach, and even a little bit after that, he kind of lost his wits a little bit. So it kind of seems like he's back and with a vengeance,
I kind of wonder, like, is it going to be Heberick, Felson the Younger,
and Scalara?
If it's going to be 4 of them going, not 3, make it a break for it.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, ready to move on here if you're good.
Yeah. All right. Felsen had woken to the sound of crunching bones. Lorik's familiar gray frog was brought a freshly slaughtered lamb before she woke. The demon ate voraciously. Felsen emerged, a blanket wrapped around her, and walked towards Lorik's side. Her hair was in disarray. She was silent and watched Gray Frog mow down on the lamb with loud, violent gulps. Lorik introduces his new familiar, Gray Frog, to Felsen. Felsen asked if the High Mage was sure it wasn't the other way around, as that demon could eat the pair of them. Gray Frog, in Lorik's mind, said that Felsen was observant, and that she was right about him being able to eat them. He explains that he waddles drunkenly, and that mentally vulnerable, distraught, and all alone. Lorik explains to Felsen that maybe an alliance was better suited instead of partnership. Felsen observes that there was mud on Lorik's boot and wonders if he had traveled in the search of allies. Lorik explained that this wasn't his intention, as he was seeking answers. She asked if he found any answers. Lorik said he found some, fewer than he was hoping for, but he returned knowing one thing, and that was that she needed to get the fuck out of there. She asked what about him. Lorik explains that he will join up with her as soon as he can. She asked if she was to journey alone. Lorik assured her that she would be traveling with Grey Frog and hopefully one other. She nodded and said that she'd had enough of this place. She no longer wanted vengeance against Bidethal. She asked if that made her a coward. Lorik slowly shook his head and said that Bidethal would get just what he deserved. Felsen proposed that if he intended to murder Bidethal, that Grey Frog should join him, as Bidethal was powerful and she could journey alone. Lorik said that as much as he'd like to kill Bidethal, it wouldn't be by his hand. Felsen sensed that he was speaking vaguely and questioned him. Lorik explained that there will be a convergence of some unexpected guests, and he suspects that no one will survive for long. There will be a vast slaughter. She asked why he would stay then. Lorik said so that he could witness for as long as he could, for he is still seeking answers. She wondered if they were more important than his life. He said that they were. He said that they were, and that he would leave her in Grey Frog's trust. He reassured her that she was safe, and when he returns, he will bring the necessary supplies for their journey. She looked over at Grey Frog, his four eyes staring back. She stated that she would be safe until he gets hungry again. Grey Frog tells Lorik in his mind that he appreciated that comment, and not to take too long to return, and then chuckled.
You think you would actually do it?
Eat Felazan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of get that sense too.
So, I like Grey Frog,
He seems very just like direct.
but he's also got the like those croup memories, or not memories, but mannerisms.
Sure.
Not quite cruppy, but very crup. You know,
Yeah.
very elegant with his words. Just the first thing is the way that Felazan wakes up. It painted a very interesting picture about how Grey Frog is eating this lamb.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was crunch.
yeah, you just think of like horror movies, like maybe almost like 80 like campy horror movies where they're eating on something, and it's voracious.
Yeah.
Next thought here. I'm not sure what Grey Frog is trying to say here. I kind of got the sense that he was maybe describing Felazan's mannerisms. Mentally vulnerable, distraught, and all alone. Or if that was supposed to indicate that it was time for Lorik to bond with him. I wasn't quite sure what exactly. Erickson used a few words that I had never heard of before, so.
I don't have my book on me right now, so I mean, if you paraphrase it down or whatever, I mean, yeah, I guess I'm not entirely sure either. And even if you read it off here, I don't know how much help that'll be.
That thing could eat both of us. And then, I'm assuming in his head, in Lorik's head, Grey Frog says, observant. She is right, companion Lorik. Maudlin, I would waddle. Alas, torpid vulnerability. Distraught, all alone. And maudlin is to like drunkenly walk. So he would drunk, I would waddle. Alas, torpid was vulnerable, mentally vulnerable, distraught, all alone. So I don't know if he's like, she's observing him, so he's observing her type thing.
I feel like he's saying that Felsen's observant, and yes, he would eat them, but then he would be so full he would like waddle like he was drunk, and he would just be alone again.
Oh, well, hey, there you go. That's poignant to what would happen if he ate them.
That's what I'm taking out of it.
No, that's great. That's why I love these things. So I like that much better. Because that fits with the narrative of what they're talking about. So
I just got to make it dumb enough for me to understand.
Would you stop doing that? My next thought here, Lorik explains that he will join up with her as soon as he can. And for some reason, I just got a little bit of like dread when I read that. And I have a feeling that maybe this will not be the case.
You don't think he'll make it?
I mean, I know earlier I said that Bidethal out of the three would probably be the one to go first. But I don't know. I guess I can't tell. Like, is this a premonition? Is this foreshadowing? Or, I mean, as we'll talk about next, he's expecting something big, a lot bigger than just the Malazan and the Apocalypse army going at it.
You think my dragon's going to show up?
No.
Had to ask.
No, that's fair. The dragon is really quick, Ben. That's why he smells like Ototero. That's why he smells like, well, no, he's not in Seven Cities, because that's your point. Yeah, he's in the Imperial Warren, in a pocket warren.
Yeah. I mean, we got to see that thing at some point again, whether it's not, in this book or down the road. Like, you can't just throw something like that in there and then like never see from it again.
Well, maybe what happened, right? Like, so we know that Osric is a dragon. We know that Anamander Rake is a dragon. And then we've got this Otaterral dragon who is made of Otaterral, right? And Otaterral is supposed to essentially like diminish the effects of sorcery. But also we know that it only happens with human warrens. But with elder warrens, cancel each other out. So with human warrens, I get the sense that Otaterral overpowers, whereas in elder terms, they cancel each other out. So I'm wondering if maybe the light and dark in their battle tied up the one thing that would cancel them out.
I guess we shall see.
Right. All right. And then next, when he's like, convergence of some unexpected guests, and he suspects that no one will survive for long, there will be a vast slaughter. And the only thing that I can think of as far as unexpected is Kalam, Fiddler, Cutter, Apsalar, Hoost. To deem a slaughter, could 5 people really take out the entire Apocalypse camp?
I mean,
They're all assassins.
I think. Well, Post isn't really an assassin, is he?
Well, no, and neither is Fiddler, but even he's a sapper.
Yeah,
Cutter's an assassin.
They could do some
Apsalar's
damage.
an assassin. Yeah, exactly.
And and Cutter can call on the hounds. Or do you think that's done with since he did it already? You think he could do it again?
Well, I assumed that he could just do it until the rope is like, you're playing too much.
Maybe, I don't know. If he shows up, maybe he calls him in.
Yeah, maybe. So I guess, yeah, I'm very curious as to where this is all headed. So I'm glad that we get to move on here.
Yeah.
Last thought, she stated that she would be safe until Grey Frog gets hungry again. And, it's just funny because sometimes when I get these moments of humor, I get a little anxious as to what's going to happen next. So I feel like it's the brevity and then something fucked up happens after that.
Well, I mean, that's a fair way to feel, that's for sure.
Yeah. That's all I had for that section.
All right. Dawn was rising as Hebrick stepped outside to meet his visitor. He stayed in as much darkness as he was able, not to hide from Lorik, who was now coming into view, but against any others who may be watching. They might see someone in the doorway, but likely wouldn't be able to tell who it was. He had wrapped himself in a cloak and kept his hands covered. As Lorik approached, he knew there would be no hiding the truth from him. He said as much as he didn't like it. It was done, and he had made peace with that. Lorik asked what Treach's interest here was. Hebrick said there would be a battle. Beyond that, he wasn't sure. Lorik said he was hoping to convince him to take Felsen away from here. Hebrick asked when, and Lorik said tonight. There would be food, water, and horses enough to get them to Gdanispan. Hebrick asked how long she was supposed to wait. Lorik said as long as she deemed necessary. Like him, he intended to wait here a few more days. Lorik told him the convergence was coming. Hebrick nodded. Lorik said they were both fools and that he had once hoped there would be an alliance between them. Hebrick said it loosely existed to ensure Felsen's safety, not that they had really done a great job of that so far. Hebrick said he could have helped. Lorik said he was surprised he hadn't sought vengeance against Bidethal, since he knew what he had done to her. Hebrick said there was no point in vengeance, and he had a better plan anyways. Leave him to his fate. Lorik smiled and said not long ago he had voiced the same thing to Felsen and walked away. I think I only had one comment here, and it was kind of probably more a question for you, Justin, but I don't know if I kind of messed up typing this, but he said it was done and he had made his peace, and I'm not sure I know what he is referring to, so I don't know if you have anything to clarify that.
I'm trying to remember. Stepped outside to meet his visitor.
Unless he's talking about the deal with Bidafal, I guess. Well, no, he didn't make
Yeah.
that. That was Febyrl.
Ulrich's going to figure out that he's Treach's destriant, is what this means.
Oh, okay.
So as Lorik approached, he knew there would be no hiding the truth from him, and that he was. So more or less, he was trying to hide himself from people watching. But as Lorik got closer, he's going to be able to see the barbs, the tattoos, and there was nothing that he could do about it. So he just made peace with it.
Got you. Okay. I think I didn't summarize that very well, and I thought it was, or at least when I was reading it here, I was thinking that was coming from Hedrick, or I'm sorry, from Lorik, not Hedrick.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, and then Lorik even asks what Treach's interest was here. Aboric's just like, well, there's going to be a battle here. But I mean, it makes sense, right? You know?
yeah. No,
So
it does.
Treach should be. So Treach has a mortal sword in Gruntle, right? And now he's got a Destriant. So he's quickly picking up players. So I don't know who's going to be a shield anvil.
Yeah, I don't know. That was all I had for that section.
Yeah. My last one here is a little shorty. So
This is okay.
there is something impossible about them. They were in the path of the distant legions of the Malazan army. Korab shivered at Leoman's words. Leoman twisted in his saddle to study his warriors. Korab settled back in his saddle because he was exhausted. Every night there had been raids, but even if he or his own company hadn't been involved, they were covering retreats, aiding, but always a fight. Had Shaik given Leoman 5,000 warriors, it would be the Malazans running with their tails between their legs all the way back to Aaron. Leoman had done what he could, purchased with blood a few extra days. They had also gauged the adjunct's tactics and the mettle of her soldiers. Had they had more, they could have been the ones to apply the pressure. It always ended up with Gaul and the Burned Tears, or the Wiccans, or those damned Marines would arrive, and it was the desert warriors that ended up fleeing. 700 or so were left. So many had been left behind, killed and slaughtered by the Kundrel's Burned Tears, collecting body parts as trophies. Leoman faced forward in his saddle and stated that they were done. Korab nodded. The Malazans would reach the wall of the Whirlwind by dusk. Korab suggested that maybe the adjunct's Otatero blade will fail, and the Whirlwind will take them all out before the night is over. Leoman squinted his eyes at the Malazan army in the distance and said that he doubted that, as the Whirlwind sorcery was not pure. He said that there will be a battle at the very edge of the oasis. Corbolodam will command the army of the apocalypse. Leoman and Korab, Mathuk, would find a suitable vantage point to watch. Korab spat, and Leoman said that their war was done. Korab said that Dom would need them. Leoman said that if he does, then he has already lost. They urged their horses forward. Into the wall of the Whirlwind they went. So I got a couple of thoughts here for you. This part where the Kundrel, the Burned Tears, were collecting body parts as trophies. And a nice little tie-in to what we know of the Teblor. And I kind of wonder if there's some relation. I mean, I know earlier that I had said that there were, kind of like that Pangea type thing where the mountain was split in the Lateran Plateau, that area. You've got the same amount of people. And it did point out in that chapter where Gaul first approaches the adjunct and wants to join that there was something not quite 7 cities about them. I'm kind of wondering if it was maybe the same culture or same group of people that ended up getting separated by some type of cataclysmic event.
Guess I don't remember that part, but you never know.
Yeah, they're paler than they would like someone native to 7 cities.
Okay.
And they have like big red beards or some shit like that. They kind of seem out of place is what I got. And it didn't really go any further than that, but it's just interesting.
Sure.
My next thought here, Corbolodam will command the army of the apocalypse. it makes me think that we're getting closer. We are getting closer. The Malazan army is going to be there at dusk, so I'm excited. I'm excited to just continue reading. This is always the part where like I get impatient because
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree, though. It's got to be close. It's just kind of like a powder keg that's been building and it's about to blow.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We have been edged. Last thought here. Leoman said that if he does, then they had already lost. And I don't really know why this is so impactful. Like, Leoman is recognizing that it's all up to Dom. Like, he's making sure he keeps enough soldiers out of harm's way or something. And my guess is likely because maybe he's recognized that by testing Tavor's tactics, that he now knows that she is cold as iron, and knows that Dom is hot iron. So I think that like the reason why he's like, you know what, we're done. I'm not gonna go aid. We're not gonna go help because we're gonna get slaughtered.
Yeah, and that's kind of the part where, like, I've wondered, will he switch sides? Or is he just are they going to go frolic off into the distance? I don't know.
I think he's just being strategic, which is a trait of someone who has cold iron. I don't know. Maybe Leoman is like live to fight another day type of thing. Like I can't do anything about all those motherfuckers over there, but I can do stuff about the people I have behind me. So maybe he like takes his time and just recruits, and then eventually, once he's big enough, he'll strike. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Part of me still thinks he's going to defect.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess I don't have any opinions on that.
Just because, like, yeah, he's got like 700 soldiers, right? And he says, well, if Dom needs us, then it's too late. 700 is not going to make a difference. So I wonder, if Tavor is just crushing them.
Yeah.
He's going to come in and, be that last blow or something.
Right.
Just because maybe he's going to see it as like an opportunity. I don't know.
Oh, maybe. I guess I didn't even think of that.
Just an idea.
I guess time will tell, right?
Right.
Well, what do you say? You want to take her home?
Sure. Havoc was an absolute beast, even more so than his namesake. He had ridden close enough to the north side of Ugaret to be able to see the watchers on the walls. They sent out riders to contest his crossing of a bridge, riders that should have been there long before Karsa. But Havoc understood the assignment, and they arrived 50 paces before the opposing riders. People who happened to be walking by the bridge scattered out of the way, and it was wide enough for 2 wagons side by side. As wide as the Ugarat River was, it only took a dozen heartbeats before he was over. Distance became irrelevant to Karsa as Havoc carried him with ease. He didn't need a saddle. Just a single rein looped around Havoc's neck was all that was needed to guide him. Karsa didn't even have to tie him up for the night. Just let him wander and eat grass. He came to another river. Karsa remembered its name as either Mersin or Thalys. Some hills ran north to south, dividing the rivers that Behedrin used to migrate. Only the beast's bones remain now. It took Karsa a week to cross the hills, and he didn't see much, some small camps or the occasional boundary marker. This time of year, the Mersin River was shallow and nearly dried up. He crossed it and headed northeast, ending up near Lato Rive on the edge of the Holy Desert. He crossed the road south of the city at night, making sure to avoid contact, and made for the pass that led to Raraku the next day. Something in his mind drove him on. He wasn't sure what it was exactly, but he didn't question it. He had been gone a long time, but he didn't think the battle in Raraku had happened yet, though he thought it was close, and Karsa wanted to be there. Not to kill Malazans, but to guard Leoman's back. But he knew it would be a chaotic day, and Karsa would add to it. Shaik or no Shaik. There were those in her camp who deserved to die, and Karsa would kill them. He didn't make up a list of reasons, insults he had taken. He had been indifferent too long. He thought he had tolerated the deceitful and malicious for too long, and now his sword would answer them. He wasn't making a list of those to kill. He would kill as the mood fit him. Karsa looked forward. to coming home, provided he made it in time. He made his way into the holy desert, and he could see the walls of the whirlwind, only days away. He smiled at the distant anger, chained for far too long. The goddess would soon unleash her wrath. He could sense her hunger, as palpable as the two souls within his sword. The dear blood was too thin. He took shelter at an old camp. This would be the last water this side of the whirlwind. This would be the last water this side of the whirlwind wall, so he would rest up and stock up. He started a fire to cook a meal, which he rarely did, and took out the remains of Febyrl. She asked why he was so impatient to get rid of her. Karsa replied, saying they had traveled far and had been a long time since he looked upon her. She asked why he chose now to look on her. Karsa said he didn't know why and already regretted it. Febyrl said she could see the sun through the fabric of the pack she was carried in. It was better than the darkness. Karsa asked her why she thought he cared what she wanted. Febyrl said they were from the same house, the House of Chains, and their master. Karsa cut her off, saying he had no master. Febyrl said the crippled god issued no commands, does not expect his mortal sword to kneel. This is the role he was shaped for from the very beginning. Karsa said he was not in the House of Chains and would not accept this false god. Febyrl said he was not false. Karsa said then he should rise before him, and his sword would then do the talking. And if he had been shaped, then there was much he needed the answers for. Febyrl told him the other gods had chained him. Karsa didn't understand. She said they chained the crippled god, dead to the ground. He is broken and in eternal pain, twisted by captivity, and now knows only suffering. Karsa said he would break his chains. This pleased Febyrl. Karsa said right after that he would kill him. He stuffed Febyrl back into the pack and stood up. He thought to himself that a house was just another prison, and he had had enough of prisons. If anyone raised walls around him, Karsa would knock them down. If the crippled god doubted his words, he would regret it.
Nice. Nice conclusion. I know that we had kind of been speculating for a long time whether we would see Karsa back or not. And we did.
Yeah, it was cool to see him back. I was glad.
Yeah, me too.
A couple thoughts. Lazzo Reve. I know this name has come up before, but I can't really remember where or anything in reference to it. I don't know if you do.
I can't remember who, but someone told him that's where he should start on his journey to the Jag-Odin.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether that was like the 7 or if that was he just figured it out. Maybe it was Leoman. I don't know. Somebody kind of like, hey, if you start here and like follow this path, blah 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 blah. Yeah.
Gotcha. I kind of forgot about this comment until we got to it here, this part, but Karsa said he wanted to be there for the battle, not to kill Malazans, but to guard Leoman's back. So I had a thought, maybe I'm going to amend my thought on Leoman defecting or flipping sides, but just Leoman said earlier if Corvallo needed them, then they already lost. So I wonder if Leoman, maybe they're there as like spectators to the battle, and Corvallo Dom sees this and maybe he gets pissed off, and so he goes after him. Corvallo goes after Leoman, and that's where Karsa comes to protect him.
Maybe. Yeah, that's always possible. I don't know if Corvallo Dom would make it out.
Oh, I don't think he would stand a chance against Karsa.
Yeah. Do you think Corvallo Dom's going to go down? Do you think he's surviving this book?
I would probably lean more that he doesn't, but I wouldn't be completely surprised if he did either.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'd prefer that he didn't.
You like Dom?
No, I prefer that he didn't survive.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Fair enough.
You got something here.
Yeah. Those, he has this there where he's like, there were those in her camp who deserved to die, and Karsa would kill them. And I can think of a few, but what about you? Who do you think he wants to kill?
I would say top of the list would probably be Bidethal, because if I remember right, Karsa knows what he did, right?
I believe so, yes.
I would say he would probably be the top of the list.
Who else? There's at least two more that I could think of.
I don't really remember Karsa's interactions with Dom. I don't know if he is one of them. No, I'm not sure who you're thinking then.
Silgar.
Okay. I don't really. I mean, he's not really a threat, but I mean, he did kind of screw Karsa over.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going after threats. I think he's just there are people there in her camp that deserve to die, and he would kill them.
But I don't think he would. I don't think he would find Silgar in the battle.
No, not at all. But I think he's moved on from Silgar and is going to kill him.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he was pretty horrible to Karsa.
Yeah, exactly. And Karsa has been drawing this out the whole book. So now that we're nearing the end, I would hate. I don't think Karsa is the type of character that would just let him live.
Yeah, I think you're right. If he gets the opportunity, if he stumbles across him or something, yeah.
The third one might be a little tricky. He is in this chapter. We do read about him. Newly transformed. Haborik. Karsa does not like Haborik.
Yeah,
and
they
that
don't
has
get
been
along.
yes, that has been something that we have known from Deadhouse Gate. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes after Haborik.
But I think he'll probably be gone, though.
Do you think Karza would just let him go, or do you think he's chasing him down?
I don't know. I don't know. Like, I think it's a deal. Like, yeah, if he saw him, he would probably go after him. But if he's not there, I don't know how much effort he's going to put into it right now.
There was a chapter earlier, definitely earlier in the book. Karza was still in like Shaik's camp. Somebody was talking to him about him potentially needing Haborik and something to do with like, does that ring a bell at all?
No.
I think he was in his glade and he was talking about, I think he was talking with Shaik about Haborik and their journey there and how much he hated him and something about he may need him with the ghosts on his back or something like that. So I think that what's going to happen is Karza's going to chase Haborik and they're going to end up having to work together. So I think it's going to be Karza, Sibel in his backpack, Haborik, Scalara, and Fellows and Younger. I think those five will be journeying out.
The dream team?
The dream team. Yeah. I think it's just one of those things where like Erickson almost kind of glosses over how much Karza hates Haborik. We also got to take into account who Karza is. He would totally go kill Haborik. All right, I'm done taking the spotlight. It's your section.
No, you're good. I'm just watching your cat.
Yeah, she does this.
She looks like she's having fun.
Yeah, putting her ass in my nose. Yep.
Walking back and forth in front of you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Karsa, he thought he'd been indifferent too long, and I just thought indifference kills the soul, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something that we learned.
Yeah, wasn't that yeah, exactly.
A section or two ago.
Yep, that we called out. Or that you called out so wonderfully.
I don't know, it was wonderful. It's probably too much credit, but
maybe. But you called it, brought it to attention.
And my last one here, I thought it was interesting that Karsa viewed it as coming home. That like Raraku is home now.
Yeah. I mean, I still think that there's something there. Something there.
What do you mean?
Well, they almost make it seem as if Karza and Raraku are connected in some way. I got that feeling. I don't know. I don't have any evidence to support it. I don't have any thoughts, but it almost kind of just seemed like Karza's glade is taken up space by Raraku, and clearly when we read this chapter, Lorik is tapping into something much older than Talan, which is A Memory of Raraku.
Well, that's it for that chapter then.
That's it. Well, I can't ask you to predict what's going to happen next. I've only read the first section. I haven't read anything after that. So definitely liking where it's going. It, from what I can gather, it seems preparatory, just preparing for, I'm going to imagine, their emergence into the whirlwind.
Yeah. And this just, was one of the few times like we didn't record the whole episode yesterday just because it was starting to get a little late and I was not feeling great. And then, we got about halfway through and I ended up reading that chapter last night as I was waiting to get some laundry in the dryer. So, yeah, that typically doesn't happen because, generally we always wait until we record our episode to read the next chapter. So we had half down this time, but it was okay. I asked for permission first.
Yes, totally fine. There's nothing. I would assume that, again, based on the pattern that I have noted, is that more often than not, what you were going to read probably wouldn't have anything to do with this chapter, and if it did, it would probably so minuscule that it wouldn't matter anyway.
Right. Yeah. But we'll start working towards that one and keep marching to the end here.
Fuck yeah. Because this is we're on chapter 22?
Yes, we will. Well, this was 21, but yeah, we'll be on to 22 now.
Yep, so we got 4 left. 4 left.
Well, 5, 22, 23, 24. Is there 26 chapters?
Yes.
22, 23, 24,
And
25, 26. Yeah. But we typically do that with the last chapter anyways, so.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that, we're almost there. We are so close. This book has probably taken the most beating out of all 4 of them so far.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I guess that's what the paperbacks are for. They serve their purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
As long as it doesn't have any spine creases, I'm good. Even though this one does.
Oh, darn.
But it's not glaring.
It's well loved.
All right, sir. Well, job well done. I'm going to go read this. And when I'm done reading this, I'm going to continue editing chapter 20.
Nice. So I guess as of this moment, then we've got 4 episodes in the bank.
Yep. That happens quickly. So I guess I'm not terribly worried about episodes in the bank. And I would imagine that as long as we can finish the book before potential events, right, then we should be fine, because it doesn't matter when the episode gets released, as long as
right,
the book is done.
Yeah.
Approaching, I think after next chapter we'll be in the 900s. So, and then from there it's just 100 more pages left, and
DUN done.
Yep. Funny.
Did you think dial-up network? Is that what you thought?
Yep, I did. I totally did.
All right, man. Well, let me know what you think of the chapter, and yeah, we'll talk soon then.
All right. Later, buddy.
See you. Have a good night, man. Take care, everybody.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
DMJ's Epic Quest. DMJ's Epic Quest. DMJ's Epic Quest.
CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest.